sometimes.
Thank you, but let me finish. If I don't invite the weird new guy to Bruce's surprise retirement party tonight.
I want you two to get close, but not in an intimate way.
I'll get as close as possible without being intimate.
No.
Okay.
Why wasn't Larry at my party?
Bruce Waters didn't want me invited to his own surprise party.
Huh?
This is all Bruce Waters' fault.
Yep.
Thank you both.
Oh my God, Bruce is dead!
Larry, please tell me you didn't kill Bruce.
What? Me?
You have to put Larry in jail.
We don't have evidence.
That's so crazy.
We need to get Larry fired.
Someone's getting fired for smoking a joint in the office, so we're gonna drug test you. What? If you get any hiss on me, I will kill you.
What are you guys doing?
Nothing.
Oh, behind my back? You're without me?
Oh, no. Oh my God.
Well, there you go. Is it just me, or does that smell a little like pee?
No.
No, it's you.
Okay, just checking.
No.
Someone is messing with me. If someone tried to mess with one of you, my best friends, I'd kill that person.
Is it just a coincidence that all this bad stuff is happening in the office this week?
This wasn't coincidences.
And what was it?
Karma. Please, don't be such a worrywart. There's still plenty of time for Bruce to learn his lesson as he fell from the window to the ground. 2,000, 3,000. Yeah. Had enough time.
Maybe it's just my age, but I get so just cynical when it comes to certain movies. Like anything that's not part of an IP. You know what I mean? So seeing something like that's new and a take on something that is just so fresh like that, I'm like, damn, this is fun.
That was the intention. Just honestly to make something fun. That was it. Not trying to make no social commentary, not trying to send an important message. Just like, what's a movie that I would really enjoy? And John, who I made this with, what would he really enjoy? And we came up with this really unique Twisted Baby.
When did everybody get involved in this movie, though? When did you bring on the cast? And did you have certain people in mind that you thought of? Did you work with certain people before that you were hoping would jump onto this thing? How did that all happen?
Yeah, so Kyle Kennedy, who plays Larry, he's a real life coworker of me and John. And we met, 12, 13 years ago. John and I met Kyle and were just talking to Kyle. And every time Kyle just spoke, didn't matter what he was talking about. He could talk about what he was eating for lunch that day. It was hilarious. Just like his cadence, the way he speaks is just so funny and he's so commanding. And it's just like, you can't look away when he's talking. And John and I, we both, we met knowing we like to make, scripted stuff together in comedy. We said, we need something for Kyle. We need to make something for Kyle. And we had a web series called Don't Tell Larry with Kyle. That's what actually started the movie. The web series actually is something I'm going to bring back online. I took it down for a while because I was maybe going to paywall it or I have to figure out what's like a smart way to re-release it. But it was online from like 2016 until like 2020, 2021. And then took it down once we had the movie up, just because there's actually a lot from the web series that we translated into the movie, like some of the plot points as well. But Kyle as Larry, we wrote this movie thinking that Kyle was going to play Larry. That's like kind of how we wrote it, because we originally it was a character with like some anger issues. And then when Kyle kind of performed initially, because he's a member of the Groundlings, so he's great with improv, he then took it to like this slightly weirder place. And then as soon as we saw that, I was like, oh, I'm a weird guy. I can embrace that. Like, let's go. We're going down that path. And so, yeah, it was writing it with Kyle in mind for that. So that's when he's been involved for a long, long time. He introduced us to Patty Guggenheim, who plays Susan.
That was going to be my next question.
Fantastic. And Patty, by the way, I mean, Patty's in every single scene in this movie.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
She carried like this. This movie doesn't work. It's, not with Patty. So she's absolutely fabulous. An absolute joy to work with. The rapport that she has with Kyle, and then the rapport she has with Kenneth, who plays Patrick. Really lovely. We had a casting director, Ricky Masler, and there were hundreds of people that submitted for Patrick, and then I think what we looked through about the selects from her. So it's still like several dozen people we looked at. And to me, his audition, he knocked it out of the park. And I was like, oh, kind of like this is our Patrick. And originally, Susan and Patrick, our two leads, were not very close at all. But once Kenneth and Patty met for the first time, there was an instant chemistry. And within even like a few minutes after meeting, I felt like they were arm in arm skipping around. And so I'd be like, oh, these two need to actually be closer than they are. And so we made some edits, pretty close to when filming began, to kind of accommodate the fact that like these are really close people at work. Like they're work friends. They may not know that much about their outside life, but like they are friends at work. And so that's how our leads came about. And then, Ed Begley Jr. was on our dream list of people to play that role. And we were very fortunate that he read the script and he liked the script. That again was our casting director connected with his agent, and so there's a role for Ed. And then same with Dot Marie Jones. Actually, I think she's perfect for Kim Hammer, the detective.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it just really, it worked. And I love how her whole shtick in this, and I think it works so well. Like she plays the character so seriously. And that's, I think, what's funny. I think if any of these characters played it for laughs, I don't think it would work the same way. Like I love how serious everyone takes it. And I think our cast really saves us because it's such a goofy script, but they still ground it in a lot of ways. Like I still the emotional stakes are there because of how well they play their roles.
The interesting thing too is that you guys are just getting started in your film careers, and these folks have been doing this kind of shtick and comedy for a long time. So talk a little bit about how spoiled you feel having had veteran actors and stuff on a set that you could, just let them kind of go and do their thing.
Yeah, I mean, it really, literal pinch me moments. Just because, I've been following Ed and seeing his movies, throughout my entire life. I just rewatched Best in Show like 2 nights ago, even.
We just talked about Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's so sad. I mean, she was fabulous in every single role she did, and working with Ed, who again is as incredibly hilarious as he is kind. Ed truly was such a joy to work with. He's helped even beyond the premiere. Like he's helped promote the movie still. I did a Reddit AMA with him like a month and a half ago. That was 6 months after we had premiered, and he's still actively helping us. And he did all these interviews, and he just came to our premieres, and just really thankful for him. But it's the sort of thing when you go on, to answer your question, Joe, like when you go on set and there's all these lines. And by the way, actually I should preface it by saying this. Ed arrived on set and he did not have the correct copy of the script. I don't think he never got the most recent version of it.
Wow.
So when he gets to set and we're doing the run through, he doesn't have those lines. So then we give him a new script, and he's like, hold on a second. And I'm watching as he is processing the new script.
Wow.
Kind of talking to himself a little bit online out loud. And I completely forgot about this until I said this on a recent podcast interview. I've read he was saying out loud, he was almost using these mnemonic devices to help him trigger and remind himself what the line is going to be. And he so naturally got it within a few minutes, he knew it. And so that is just so incredible to see the legend at work, how quick he is with the lines. And then I got to feed improv lines to him as well. I mean, there was things he came up with on his own, and then there were some just ridiculous lines I wanted him to say. He's like, yeah, you want me to say it? I'll say it, whatever you want, Greg. And then I was like, all right, say this line. And then he would just take it to a whole new level, and just had so much fun with it. And there's so much footage that didn't make the final cut. It was so hard to choose jokes, and I'm slowly on our YouTube channel releasing all the alts, because those alts need to see the light of day. They can't
hell yeah, they do.
Hard drive. So definitely just working with Ed, and I mean with everyone else in the cast too. But I think they were just so good at what they do. It was just everyone is so professional and so funny and so honest, and it kept me motivated to do my best. Like when you're around and working with great people, you want to also be able to put your best out there.
Did you film this before Patty filmed She-Hulk?
Patty had filmed She-Hulk.
Oh,
she already did. I don't think she wasn't able to talk about it yet.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I think she had like just filmed it. And yeah, then we found out shortly after filming that it was about to come out. And then she had a moment, a well-deserved moment. I think it was like summer of 22 when it came out. And we saw at one point, like the IMDb star ranking, she was like number 7 or something. It was like incredible. It was like, it was like Patty Guggenheim. And she's such a star. So I'm just so happy she has those moments. And I think she's going to continue to have great roles come her way.
So one of my main questions that I was thinking about, having a guy like Ed Begley Jr., who's coming up on 50 years in the business right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. And then he's the son of like Hollywood royalty. What was it like to sort of pick his brain about the business?
He gave really great acting advice. And I really think it relates to being a director as well. What was some of the best advice you ever got for acting?
It's advice I got from an acting coach named Roy London. One day we were working together and he said, "You know what I think is the most interesting thing to watch, Ed?" I go, "What's that, Roy?" He said, "How a character deals with pain. Comedy or drama, I think it's universal." I said, "Thanks, Roy." I get out to my car. What a bunch of bullshit. Pain. I don't want to see a guy in pain all day. How a character... Well, wait a minute, that's not what he said. He didn't say a character being in pain. He said, how does a character deal with pain? Harold Lloyd hanging from the clock. Laurel and Hardy carrying a piano down the stairs, and the piano falls on top of them. It's hysterically funny. Roy London was right, as it turns out.
I feel like that's one thing that stuck out for me. I think another thing that was just interesting, this isn't advice per se, but if someone's name came up or a movie reference, like Ed was 1 degree of separation away. Like he knew the person, he worked with the person before. I mean, like almost everyone, it's like, it feels like almost like literally so many people. It's like Kevin Bacon is 6 degrees. I feel like Ed Begley Jr. is like 2 degrees.
I was about to make that reference, like with Ed Begley Jr., like the game should be named after him because he's shared the screen with like literally everyone.
So many people.
Okay, so I'm gonna nerd out here a little bit, Brian. I apologize,
bro. I do it every day. So
I'm curious about, because I have to. You shot this in an actual office space, I'm guessing.
Yes.
And hallways aside and everything like that. The one thing about this movie that is so masterfully done filmmaking wise is the way you cut into cut scenes and the editing part of this. Were you guys editing in camera a lot, or was that something that came about when you naturally were able to do, filming something like this and letting people do improv? You have to let the camera roll a little bit longer, right? And so you're not always going to have gold there, but you're going to have a lot of substance. And like you said, you have a lot of things that you want to release that you had to cut out of the movie. So I'm curious, were you thinking about the cuts and the sharpness of how you guys navigated from scene to scene? Or was it, we film as much as we can and then we just trim it when we're in the editing process?
Great question. I think, so John Shimke was our editor, and he also, we directed together. So when we were doing our initial shot list, to make sure we were on the same page, we were like really hammering it down, being like, this is the look, this is probably how it can cut. We had a general sense. But something, it's like, it's one thing for the story to be written on the page. That's one way the story is written. Now you go on set, and now things will happen that force you to change, and pivot a little bit before the story gets rewritten. And then of course it happens again in post. So we did have an idea. We knew our angles. We knew when we were doing improv, most of our improv moments and lines were usually on fixed camera shots. We weren't relying on doing that when we're doing a lot of movement on the camera, exactly for the reason you said. And yes, in most scenes, there were inevitably cuts because exactly you want to start late, end early. Like so many, there's the scene in the living room when they're watching the hard drive footage. There's like probably 2 minutes before that of just Larry just rambling on about all these different people in his life who wronged him and how they're seriously missing and they're gone. And it was really funny, but we're like, also we don't need it. It's tough.
Yeah.
It was really hard to kind of cut a lot just because it was so funny. But our initial cuts were, it's like over 2 hours. And it's like, no, this is a comedy movie. We got to be like 90 minutes. There's no reason why it needs to be longer. We have to keep it moving. So yeah, I'd say that's the big thing. I think really like we had a good sense of what it was going to be. We did a lot of work with different previs programs where we actually had like animated characters, and we simulated what the camera moves would be, just so that when we're talking, we have a shorthand, John and I being like, this is what's in my head and this is what's in my head. And like, we made sure that it's pretty similar to one another. And of course, we worked with our director of photography, Derek Bauer, and he came in and he had his notes. And I'm someone who wants to embrace outside opinions. I'm not like, okay, this is how it has to be. When someone, whether a crew member or a cast member, says, well, what if we try it like this? If we're able to, if we're able to execute it, if we have the time or if we have the ability to do so, I want to embrace that. Because there's going to be gold that comes from that, no matter what. So,
what made some of these days like, damn?
Where to start? There's such a long list. We filmed this in the heart of COVID, in the heart of the Omicron wave. In Dallas, Texas.
Filming Don't Tell Larry. Day 2. The behind schedule. Crazy, but good. Here's a CEO sign, which is a sheet of paper, so we will not be using it. This is supposed to be day 8, but COVID outbreak means that there's no filming today. I'm actually in a Walmart parking lot right now, dropping off a COVID rapid test. Fun times. Making a film in a pandemic. Last night there were attacks of coyotes that howled constantly. Lots of coyotes, hogs, and snakes, none of which we want to come face to face with. 7:30 in the morning after a 13-hour day. We lost the process trailer because of the lightning storm and hail.
Ohio, no, Texas.
One of the few obstacles we have yet to experience on set is a tornado watch, and so we're going to be able to check that off the bucket list now.
I'm talking to my line producer, like, who is a local gaffer or grip that we can get like today because we don't have anyone. Or for about 3 or 4 days of shooting, we had no art department because we lost our entire art department. So like John and I, in between takes while the camera was setting up, we were moving things around the office. Or like when we had to flip the world and now we're shooting in the opposite direction, we're, adjusting the cubicles and moving it back and like literally like lifting up desks and stuff. It just was like, that was very stressful and a challenge just because, an independent film as it is, there's, so few resources or there's so much you have to do in such a limited amount of time. But then to have fewer than the expected amount of people on the crew side was especially difficult.
As filmmakers, we're very critical. We look at everything with a critical eye. We kind of embrace the idea that we could have done this better or that better, or we look at this and go, damn, I wish I had gotten that cut away or whatever. I'm curious though, what do you think you nailed? What is it that you feel like this was perfect?
That cat hat is a perfect nailing right there because it makes me laugh every time.
Pretty good. It's a pretty good.
What was nailed? I think casting. I think every cast member hit it out of the park with their role. We made it so that every character, no matter how small, had their own distinct element that made them unique and memorable. And I think every casting choice we made, I have zero regrets on that. I think everyone knocked it out of the park and did such a fantastic job. And just nothing at all negative to say about the cast. I think far and away they were the best. They're the strongest part of this whole thing.
I'm going to admit this. I have never admitted this, Joe, to a single solitary soul. Dot Marie Jones scares the hell out of me because she looks like she could cave in my face. How hard does she make you laugh when she's playing this ridiculousness completely straight?
It was extremely challenging, and it's hard too because I'm looking at crew members also holding it in, and of course that makes it even more infectious. And the more serious she played it, you're just like, oh my god, like this is just so wild and ridiculous, and she's just committing to the bit, like she's just committing to who her character is, who we wrote her character to be.
Did she break Kenneth or Patty at any point?
Oh yeah, yes, she did. But I'm really impressed. I would say the crew broke probably even more than the characters and the actors, because I think, again, back to how professional the actors are, they were able to hold it in until the end. And I don't know how they did it. I mean, there's definitely takes we have where the camera is supposed to be still and then it moves because someone like knocked into it because they were laughing. Like that definitely happened. And yeah, in Dot's case, a lot of her scenes was like that too. And we also, there's a scene where Dot's in the closet with two of them, and it's like the tightest of spaces. Camera and two directors, and we have to move shelves, and there's like no room, and we're just like up against her, like we're that close to her as well. And Dot's very tall too, and she's I think she was a world champion arm wrestler too back in the day.
Yeah.
Well,
and not only that, but Dot enters in that scene. She's not in it to begin with. She kind of walks into the scene, which is kind of
yeah, that was. we literally painted ourselves into corners because we found an office that we loved. It was an abandoned architecture firm, and we spent 3 or 4 weeks just cleaning it up and making it look like a real.
You had the cubicles in place there.
There were some cubicles that were there, but they were like being held up by like blocks of wood. And so we had to like rebuild like a lot of the cubicles on the bottom. There are different pieces of wood just like to hold it up. We had a situation where someone accidentally knocked into a wall, and then it had a domino effect because then it like knocked over another cubicle.
Oh my god!
It just
hello, independent film.
You know, and we were on the 4th floor, and people who were downstairs like came up and said, you know, what, everything okay? And it was just, you know, an accident. So those were fun times there. But yeah, we loved the location, but there were so many tight corners, and we had to work with what we had, and we had to use lenses, you know, that were a bit wider perhaps than I personally would have wanted for different shots. But I think we embraced it, and it forced us to just get really creative and to just, again, embrace the space that we had.
I have to say, because I'm more of a writer. I'm not a filmmaker. Like, if you handed me a camera, I would have 1,000 different ways to do it wrong. But I'll tell you, like when I write, I try to get into the shoes of my characters. And when I write, I really try to put their personality, their vulnerability out there, because a lot of the time when it's subtle, it has a bigger impact. The one thing I'll definitely say, you brought it up a lot with Kyle, I think his performance we're laughing at the situation, but Larry is a really hurt person. Mm-hmm. And with the funniness and with the physicality that Kyle brings, that hurt was like really at the forefront. So I guess that's more of a statement, but I think one of my questions in that is, you as the director, writer, and all that, how do you get that kind of a performance out of your actors? Is that just something that's just there, or do you take them aside like we used to see in the old movies and be like, you have to go to that place?
There was a little bit of that, not that like stereotypical way I think that it was done, but we definitely, when speaking to the characters, we talked about how, all of our 3 leads, there were some issues there. Larry had abandonment issues, and all he wanted to do was to be a part of the group and to fit in, and he's being left out. So that's like striking his core wound. Susan, her identity is tied to her job, and she deserves it, and she gets screwed over, and that's so important to her, and that's how she identifies herself. Like, that's just what she views herself as. And so there's that. And then there's Kenneth as well, who, again, like a childhood hero. We've kind of all like hinted at these like childhood wounds. So I think just when talking to them initially about the characters, we said like, these are the things that are at play. But I think I'm just going to give more of the credit to the actors. They knew that, and they saw it was on the page. And if they had questions, they talked with us, but they really nailed it. And the thing that I'm just so impressed by is that we filmed this movie completely out of order. So we're going from a scene where in the office, it's a very calm, collective scene when we first meet Patrick and Susan, like together at their cubicles. And the next scene is like towards the very end of the movie, after something really bad may have just happened. You now have to just completely transform, where your mindset is at. And it was so lovely. Then when cutting it together and watching the scene progression, they really nailed it. Like, there is, there is growth in all the characters. There is change, and the change isn't abrupt. It is subtle. And I feel like it's well earned. And I think that just goes to the actors and how skilled they are.
I want to piggyback a little bit off of what you said there, if I may. For those of us that aren't filmmakers, like you and Joe know how you do that. But for like me, I always grew up with the idea, well, you start with the opening shot and you film it in sequential order, blah, blah, blah. But that's not really how it goes. So maybe for those like me who don't know, mm-hmm. How do you do the filming, and then what determines what order you film?
Such a great question. If we had the full luxury, I would say let's shoot it in order. We can't do that. Locations and actor availabilities are the 2 probably main factors that dictate the schedule. Okay. And the big thing is we had so much of the film was filmed inside of an office building, and we needed to be also being mindful of costs. When you bring someone in for the day, whether you need them for 2 minutes or for 7 hours, they're still getting paid their day rate for SAG as an actor. So we also want to be really smart when we have characters like Tina Parker, who played Carol, and Heath Allen, who played Cody. They're scattered out in a bunch of different scenes. We tried the best we could to consolidate their scenes together, to film it all together. And so that, that's one reason why we're filming out of order. Ed Begley Jr., we had all of his scenes that we grouped together over a 2-day period. And that was strategic because, Ed is, it's hard to get Ed for a lot of time. And it's just being mindful of cost as well. And we said, like, how can we get as much as we can in a consolidated amount of time? And we consolidated dot scenes as well, the best we could. And I think that was a big thing. It's just like, what are actor availabilities? And then again, we tried to really avoid company moves. And by that, I mean, if we're going from the office to all of a sudden now we are going to a restaurant and we're leaving the office, we have to pack up all the equipment and everyone's moving and leaving. And there's so much time that it takes to do that. So that's why we made the decision. The scenes in Susan's living room is actually another office suite in the same building. We converted a pre-existing office set that was empty into a living room, and we didn't have to have any company moves. All we have to do was go downstairs. So it's little things like that as well helped just make the most of the locations we had. All the scenes in a car and driving scenes we put together, all the scenes that were in a parking lot and outside were put together. And that allows us just, the thing that takes time is going, the actors changing between scenes and updating the props as opposed to, full-on company moves. So does that kind of answer your question, Bryan?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot today, Joe.
Well, as for people who don't understand, a script is, they typically say a page of a script is 1 minute of the filming. And so to kind of piggyback on what Bryan was saying, just to kind of give some clarity for people to understand how daunting this process is, how many pages were you filming a day, would you say, on average?
It varied, but we were doing, I would say on average is around 6 a day.
That's not too bad.
But it ended up being, there were certain days, see, the thing is there were certain days where it was like 10 pages. Yeah. And there were other days where it was like 1.5 pages, but the 1.5 pages had a lot of elements in it. Yeah. Let's say hypothetically, we were filming in the middle of a forest. Getting to the forest, there's a lot of action. There's fire involved. There's stunts involved. Yeah. All of that takes time. So there's certain times when you're sitting at a cubicle and you're at an office and 2 people at a desk, and it's a little easier to go back and forth. It's a little faster. And there's other times where it takes a long time just because there's so many setups for every shot. Like the scene in the forest, I think there's something like 32 shots that were in that scene. And so every angle, there's an adjustment. There's everything that needs to be done. There's the smoke machine in the background has to be restarted again. We have to update makeup. We have to maybe get dirt.
The lights.
The lights, exactly. And so there's just so many extra moving parts. We filmed a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So we're still continuing to put out. Even today, I just put something out too. Like we're just constantly still putting out more videos behind the scenes because I think it's also cool to kind of shine light on the behind the scenes of a movie.
I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
How many days did you shoot overall?
So overall it was 18 principal days of photography. Maybe, 17, 18.
You had some pickups?
Yeah, not many pickups. We had a little bit of a pickup, and there was a day with a skeleton crew where it was like for certain driving shots or from POV shots or some drone shots.
What do you love about being independent? What is it about making independent film that you really enjoyed so much?
It is the freedom, the flexibility creatively. I'm definitely someone who I'm working on this. I definitely think a bit of a control freak, and that just I like to have a say. I mean, some of my other jobs I work as a showrunner, so someone who's overseeing logistics, writing, and producing, and the creative. And I like that ability to have that. I liked having that say, that power, so to speak, of knowing that like this is what I wanted to make, and I get to make it, and there's no one to really tell me no. People might say, "What are you doing?" But ultimately, we can still kind of, surpass that and make our own decisions and make something that we're proud of and can like take full ownership of too.
Are you and John planning on doing more stuff together?
We are, yes. I would love to be able to build on this universe some more.
That would be awesome.